Wimboni naimba sio wimboni maombi, nikiomba Mwenyezi Mungu aibariki Kenya yangu, kwa jina la Baba na la Mwana Roho Mtakatifu, amina. Kwa jina la Baba na la Mwana.
Ever since the promulgation of the new constitution, we have been celebrating Mashujaa Day every 20th of October. Focus has usually been on freedom fighters and other well-known figures around the country. Little is known of Penninah Mumbi Kabethi, but by all manners and designs, she is a Shujaa in her own rights after having emerged victorious in her battle with a brain tumor.
I grew up very well, playing with other kids, social with other kids, and obedient to my parents. That's it.
This battle started when Penninah was studying at a local university, and it came as a shock because there is no history of anyone with tumor in her family.
I was in KU, I was doing medical lab science. When I was in second year, I started experiencing headaches that were persistent and headaches that were coming from the back of my head. As usual, as a normal person, I just went to look for medication and to sort out what was my symptoms were. I went to KU Health Center, I was treated, but then even with treatment, the headache never went away. It was still there, persistent, it was growing, slowly by slowly increasing. I was told to eat well, I was told to rest a bit well. All this I did, I adhered, but the headache was still there. I remember one instance whereby I really revised for a certain paper. It was exam time. We were almost closing school. I really revised for a certain paper. And went for the exam. But when I went to do the exam, I couldn't remember a thing. Okay, I don't know. I couldn't remember a thing. All I could remember is my name and my registration number. I could not remember what I had revised and what I had been taught, because the questions that are in that paper were just what has been taught. And then at that point, I remember, I was experiencing a lot of headache at that point, and I could tell that my headache was just not a normal headache, the one you take any painkiller and then it just clears, because it had been there for like 1.5. I mean, that by then it was 1.5 months. So yeah, of course I sat there, I cried, but because I didn't want to attract the attention of everyone else who was doing the exam with me, I just went to the lecturer, I started in my paper, I went somewhere and I just sat alone, and yeah, of course I cried and wondered why this has to be me, and why wasn't I understanding what was happening to my life.
It was a nightmare for her and her family that it reached a point she considered suicide to rid her family of the stress.
For me to break the news to my parents, I called my friend and told her, I think I'm considering committing suicide. I think it's a better option. I mean, brain surgery is almost a death sentence, and so it's better for me to go before I get there.
This was because her father was also ailing at that particular time.
I was really looking for words to use to explain this to my parents, because at that point, I remember my dad had a hip dislocation as was being recapiated at home. So I was figuring out my mother holding 2 patients, and yeah, it was not funny.
The brain is a very sensitive organ, and any form of surgery performed on it is usually risky by nature, as was the case with Penninah's surgery.
When you mention the word brain surgery, most people think that it's a death sentence. You have to, yeah, most of people think either there's a death sentence, or there is, you become a cabbage, you lose most of your functions.
But Penninah is a fighter and she managed through the aftermath of the surgery. It is said that tough times do not last, but tough people do, and she is a true embodiment of this adage.
I left for home, and that's the time I realized I was seriously sick. Because I could not do the things that I really loved doing. I could not walk, I could not work, I used to talk, but no one was able to tell what I was saying. So I had to use, I don't know sign language, but I had some way to use sign language to tell for what I really needed before I caught up my speaking again. My friends who came visiting me from home are the ones who made me realize I was very sick. Because when I remember almost all of them, when they saw me seated wherever I used to sit at home, they could not hold the emotion. And that's the time I realized I'm very sick. And I had two options. One was to either get stronger for myself, or two, to go down and become that cabbage that we perceive that someone becomes when you had gone through surgery. So I decided to take the first option. I had first to be strong for myself. Then I become strong for my parents and my family. Then, life will open up other doors.
The tumor, kind of a tumor she had, grows at the junction of where that nerve, the seventh nerve, comes into contact with the brain. Now, that is in that area, and so the tumor will grow and occupy that space. So it will compress the brainstem, the cerebellum, the brainstem, and part of the brain, and it will stretch the nerves. That seventh nerve. So that is the area that we call the CP, and it looks like a triangle. Now, so when we found that she had that kind of a tumor, we now of course informed her, and we started talking about the various modes of treatment. And the treatment for that is only one. It has to be removed to relieve the pressure. And we also talk about what are the likely complications because of where it is. And one of the complications, because the nerves are very stretched, is that you can have an injury to that nerve, such that the muscles of your face, may be pulled to the other side, because the other side will be normal. One of the other, of course, complications is continued imbalance. And of course, the other complications when you have an injury to the brainstem is in coordination, especially even with your eyes, in coordination with the other functions of the body, especially that involve coordination of walking, of stable trunk. The trunk is the body. Now, and of course, other things is when getting a condition we call hydrocephalus. Hydrocephalus is when now the swelling, whether it is after the surgery, compresses the flow of the water in the brain called the cerebrospinal fluid and causes that water not to flow. So all this we explained to them, and we explained to her, and we went for the surgery.
At this particular juncture, many people would have given up on having a normal life. But Penninah is not those types of people who give up easily.
Through my family, who really supported me to get back to my normal self. My friends also. I got to 1 day a week, and after like 9 months or 10 months, I could make baby steps on myself, and then that was a very encouraging move I've ever appreciated. In fact, I remember when I realized I couldn't walk again, because I love dancing a lot. I told God, and I just want to walk again, because I just want to dance for you again. And when I made 2 baby steps, then I was certain that I would walk again. So I continued practicing, and after 1 year, I could walk, though I walked in a staggering manner, because my balance was much affected. Because and the reason as to why I had right-sided paralysis is because where the tumor was is where most of the nerves, some nerves originate. So the nerves that control the right side of my head come from that location where the tumor was located. So when the tumor was being removed, they couldn't be spared. So they had to come out with it. So we call them tracts. Some tracts were affected. That is why I grew weak on my right side.
Her resolve to live life to the fullest directed her to study medicine. She wanted to understand why things like tumors occur, and she wanted to play a part in helping people who would find themselves in a similar situation as hers.
And I started contemplating, what if I went to be one of those doctors who helped me. The thought and the idea came into my head. I thought about it, and I was not really doubting myself that I would make it. I was contemplating, because at that time my dad had just passed on, and I was figuring out what will happen, what will I stress will be too much. So many considerations before you settle on one idea. But I went to Dr. Wanyeke, who is my great friend and my great mentor, right? And I shared with him what I was thinking and what was in my head. And he told me, yes, this is the spirit. You can go for it. You can do it. We will support you in this. Yeah, and that was it. I applied to join medical school, Nairobi University, and my journey started. I worked for a while, then I had to stop, because again, being in medical school means a lot. I stopped working, and I concentrated much on my medical school work. Yes.
It is said that if you want to know who your true friends are, go broke or fall sick, and the true intentions of your friends will come to the fore.
After 1 year, I went back to school, Kenyatta University, and that is, again, where it also dawned upon me that I had gone through something. I was, again, not very sick, but simply because I don't think whether you have ever experienced rejection, whereby no one wants to be associated with you. A lot of my friends didn't want to be associated with me, simply because I worked in a staggering manner, and I was always in dark shades. I was always in a cape. The cape was hiding the scar I had in my head. And because of the eye complication of that, I was always covering with the dark shades. And because I was very dependent, I had not fully recovered, whereby I could do a lot of things for myself. My friends, I think they deserted me, because I had to ask them to do something for me. So that sent me to depression. I had really started the journey of accepting myself, and I was at home. Now, when I come to school, that journey is like kind of cut short. So I had very low self-esteem. I went to depression, and I just wanted to stay alone. I remember at that point, because I was in school and I was still doing physiotherapy in Kenyatta Hospital, and yeah, I failed some bit of my units, but that was not the end. That was also contributed to my depression. So I just wanted to stay alone. The only place that I went and I could not socialize, just going and coming back, was church. I just went to church. Then after service, I would come back and just stay alone. Then one of my few friends who had still stuck with me realized that I was really depressed. And she came to talk to me, and she told me that it is good we get a counselor. I see a counselor because of this my situation. Okay, I took a second thought, and I told her, okay, we can try. So I went to the counselor. I took several sessions with him, and I was taught how to positively think about life. And that is when I started accepting the things that were happening to my life. I started accepting that even if some friends are lost, others will appear. Even if the world deserts you, God does not desert you. So I became very positive, a very positive person. I looked in every situation, in everything that happened to my life, I just looked into it positively.
Despite losing so many of her friends, some like Lucy Wangari stayed and encouraged Penninah on her journey back to wellness.
She used to come to class, or from what she has told me after that, she used to come to class with dark shades and a hoodie. But I guess I became curious as to why, because she told me after about the rumors of being drunkard. I didn't know about that. So I had an interest to know what happened, what went on. And she was like any other classmate that I had. So it didn't seem that she was different. So it didn't click to me that she was different per se. Yeah.
Finding out that one has a tumor or any other form of malignancy isn't a sure death sentence. Medicine has evolved, and previously incurable diseases are being cured, and Penninah has a word of encouragement.
If you're having any symptoms that you question, whatever part of the body, please go and get a diagnosis. It is not a death sentence. Disability is not inability. When you get early diagnosis and you are treated early, you can follow your dreams to wherever they take you. As they say, please don't settle anywhere, but close to your dream. Two, I want to ask all those who are handling these patients, the family, the relatives, the doctors, please, give them enough support, give them the much needed consolation that they require, and show them that life is brighter, and despite having this diagnosis, life still holds. You don't have to curtail your plans for the future because of this kind of diagnosis. It's just just get treatment, and life will just go on. Then I would want at this particular moment to recognize all the Mashujaa doctors who have met along the way, and they have handled me so well, especially Dr. Wanyoike. Thank you very much. God bless you. I'll also recognize all other healthcare workers, occupational therapists, the nurses I've met along, and we have had a good relationship, and they have supported me and helped me to this point that I am right now. I really appreciate you and feel that you're also a Mashujaa as we celebrate Mashujaa Day.
Wimbo nina